On the evening of Sunday, July 13th, 2025, the city of Calgary was abruptly thrust into chaos as a powerful supercell thunderstorm swept across its northern districts, unleashing a barrage of loonie-sized hail, torrential rain, and wind gusts reaching up to 93 kilometers per hour. What began as a warm summer day quickly transformed into a scene of destruction and disbelief, leaving residents scrambling for shelter and emergency crews racing against time to contain the damage. At approximately 7:45 p.m., meteorological radars detected a rapidly intensifying storm system approaching from the northwest. Within minutes, the skies darkened over neighborhoods like Thorncliffe, Mayland Heights, and Mount Pleasant. The storm, moving at speeds of 50 to 60 kilometers per hour, struck with little warning, pelting homes, vehicles, and gardens with hailstones the size of Canadian dollar coins. Environment and Climate Change Canada, ECCC, had issued a severe thunderstorm warning earlier in the day, but few anticipated the sheer intensity of what was to come. The storm's trajectory cut a diagonal path through the city, exiting by 8:20 p.m., but not before leaving a trail of shredded foliage, toppled trees, and battered rooftops. Residents in the hardest-hit areas described scenes of panic and awe. In Thorncliffe, a large tree collapsed onto a van, blocking 23 Avenue and .W and narrowly missing nearby homes. Social media lit up with images of cracked windshields, dented siding, and flooded streets. One Reddit user, u/Vinsamos, recounted how a neighbor's tree fell dangerously close to a power line. It was pruned literally around the power line and it fell in that direction. It's a miracle we still have power. Another resident, u/Jiden, shared their harrowing experience. We are in Thorncliffe. I was out and got trapped in my vehicle. The siding on the house took the worst of it. Going to have to replace the whole side and maybe the roof too. Following the hailstorm, a steady band of rain settled over Calgary, prompting a rainfall warning from ECCC. Meteorologist Kristi Klimenhaga reported that the city had already received 35 millimeters of rain in the previous 24 hours, with forecasts predicting totals between 50 and 80 millimeters by the end of Monday. Stormwater crews were dispatched to clear blocked inlets and respond to drainage-related 311 calls. The city's Parks Department noted widespread damage to trees, with branches snapped by wind and foliage shredded by hail. Watering operations were suspended due to the saturation, and emergency teams prioritized areas most vulnerable to flooding. Calgary's susceptibility to hailstorms is well documented. Situated on the southern edge of Alberta's Hail Alley, the city frequently experiences severe hail events due to unique geographical and atmospheric conditions. The northern districts, in particular, have borne the brunt of past storms, including a devastating event in August 2024 that caused $3.25 billion in damages, and a record-breaking storm in June 2020. Klimenhaga explained, because Calgary is at the south side of that main hail area, the north side will get it a little more than maybe the south side. What we see in the region is just a good geography for making it the prime location for hail to form. By Monday morning, city crews were out in force, assessing damage and initiating cleanup operations. The City of Calgary's emergency page offered guidance to residents on how to protect themselves and their property during hailstorms. Recommendations included moving vehicles to shelter, closing windows and blinds, and trimming trees to reduce the risk of falling branches. Insurance companies urged residents to document damage with photographs and report claims promptly. The city's 311 service was inundated with calls, ranging from flooded basements to shattered skylights. In Mayland Heights, several homes reported roof leaks and broken windows, while in Mount Pleasant, a community garden was completely destroyed by the hail. Photos submitted to CBC Calgary captured the storm's wrath in vivid detail. One image showed a tree toppled in Thorncliffe, its roots torn from the ground. Another depicted a cloud formation over Airdrie, ominous and swirling, moments before the hail began to fall. The Weather Network shared dramatic visuals of the supercell storm, highlighting the size of the hailstones and the intensity of the rainfall. A video posted to YouTube showed the storm peaking around 8 p.m., followed by a surreal rainbow arching over the city, a brief moment of beauty amid the destruction. Despite the damage, Calgary's resilience shone through. Neighbors helped each other clear debris, cover broken windows, and check on vulnerable residents. Local businesses offered discounts on emergency supplies, and community centers opened their doors to those needing temporary shelter. The city's emergency management team emphasized the importance of preparedness, urging residents to stay informed through official channels and to have emergency kits ready during storm season. "This storm was a reminder of how quickly things can change," said a spokesperson, "but it also showed how strong and united our community can be." While hailstorms are not uncommon in Alberta, the increasing frequency and severity of such events have raised questions about climate change and urban resilience. Experts point to shifting weather patterns and warmer atmospheric conditions as contributing factors to the formation of supercell storms. Calgary's experience on July 13, 2025, adds to a growing list of extreme weather events across Canada and the globe. As cities grapple with the realities of climate volatility, the need for robust infrastructure, early warning systems, and community preparedness becomes ever more urgent. A sudden and ferocious rainstorm swept through Windsor on Saturday afternoon, July 12, 2025, leaving thousands without power, streets blocked by fallen trees, and emergency crews scrambling to respond to widespread damage. The storm, which struck between 1:30 and 2 p.m. local time, was part of a larger system that brought severe weather across southwestern Ontario, triggering warnings from Environment and Climate Change Canada, ECCC, and sparking concern among residents and officials alike. The day began with oppressive heat and humidity, with temperatures soaring to 33 degrees Celsius and a humidex reading of 44. By early afternoon, conditions had become ripe for severe weather. Meteorologists had warned of a low-pressure system moving across the Great Lakes region, bringing instability and the potential for thunderstorms, hail, and damaging winds. At approximately 1:30 p.m., the skies over Windsor darkened rapidly. Within minutes, torrential rain and wind gusts between 70 and 80 kilometers per hour pummeled the city. Small hail was reported in some neighborhoods, and visibility dropped dramatically as sheets of rain swept across roads and rooftops. The storm's impact was immediate and visible. Large trees were uprooted or snapped in half, blocking major intersections and residential streets. In Sandwich and central Windsor, emergency crews responded to reports of downed power lines and traffic lights knocked out by the wind. Photos and videos shared on social media showed scenes of chaos. Fire trucks navigating flooded streets, ambulances parked near damaged homes, and residents standing in disbelief beside crushed vehicles and shattered windows. One dramatic image captured a vortex cloud formation over Windsor just before the storm hit, hinting at the storm's intensity. By 2 p.m., NWIN Utilities reported that over 5,000 customers were without power across Windsor. The outages affected homes, businesses, and public facilities, with some areas experiencing prolonged blackouts into the evening. Traffic signals were disabled in several intersections, prompting police to direct traffic manually. The city's stormwater infrastructure was pushed to its limits. Drainage systems struggled to keep up with the deluge, and localized flooding was reported in low-lying areas. Crews worked through the afternoon to clear debris from storm drains and restore functionality to critical systems. While Windsor bore the brunt of the storm's fury, meteorologists warned that the broader region remained at risk. The Weather Network highlighted the possibility of rotating storms and even isolated tornadoes across southwestern Ontario, particularly near Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. The storm system continued to move eastward through the evening, bringing heavy rain and wind to communities from Sarnia to London. Campers and cottage-goers were urged to stay alert and monitor weather updates, as conditions remained volatile throughout the weekend. Local authorities activated emergency protocols, dispatching crews to assess damage and assist residents. Windsor Fire and Rescue Services responded to multiple calls involving fallen trees, electrical hazards, and structural damage. Community centers opened their doors to those affected by the outages, offering shelter and support. A round of widespread severe thunderstorms swept through much of eastern Ontario and southern Quebec on Sunday afternoon, bringing strong winds, torrential rainfall, and power outages to the region. Sunday was likely Montreal's wettest July day on record. High instability and ample moisture throughout the atmosphere provided plenty of fuel for storms to thrive as a cold front arrived during the day Sunday. The moisture-packed atmosphere made high wind gusts and localized flooding a particular risk throughout the day. Numerous clusters of thunderstorms affected the area. One targeted southern Quebec, while another developed over eastern Ontario. Winds gusted to around 60 kilometers per hour at the Ottawa Airport as the thunderstorms passed overhead on Sunday afternoon. Montreal-Trudeau International Airport reported visibility of less than 1 kilometre and very heavy rainfall not long after. Strong winds knocked down trees and power lines across the two provinces. Heavy rainfall led to localized flooding, especially in southern Quebec. Montreal saw at least 77 millimeters of rain as of mid-afternoon on Sunday, with precipitation continuing through the early evening. This would make July 13, 2025, the city's wettest July day on record, surpassing the 79.2 millimeters witnessed during Hurricane Beryl's remnants just last year. Hydro-Quebec saw 60,000 customers without power at one point on Sunday, with the number down to around 33,000 customers without power as of 4:15 p.m. local time. Over in Ontario, storms knocked out power to a few thousand customers. The risk for severe weather will continue into the early evening hours as the storms progress east across the region. The sudden rainfall caused several floods on major highways, including the Papineau Blanc Bridge toward Laval and Highway 40 near Dorval. An 82-year-old man had to be rescued by two Montreal police officers and a city worker after getting stuck under a viaduct onto Salaberry in Cartierville. City of Montreal spokesperson Philippe Sabourin said the city's water gauge measured rain falling at a high of 155 millimeters an hour. He also said Montreal received as many calls from citizens yesterday as it did during the aftermath of Debbie, a storm that caused historic damage on the island. The city is asking people to report areas that have not drained yet to 311. Sabourin said the cleanup will focus on the center and northern parts of the island of Montreal that were hardest hit: Saint Laurent, Ahuntsic-Cartierville, St. Leonard, and Villeray-Saint-Michel-Rosemont. He is asking the public to avoid playing sports in the St. Lawrence River and the Rivière des Prairies for the next 2 days. In Quebec City, organizers of the Festival de Quebec had to reorganize and cancel some of their shows due to the downpour. One municipality on Isle d'Orleans declared a state of emergency and closed the main road on account of the storm. As the storms raged, nearly 100,000 Hydro-Quebec customers were without power by late afternoon. As of Monday morning, fewer than 5,000 addresses were still affected by outages. On social media, Public Security Minister François Bonnardel assured that his ministry's teams were in contact with the municipalities affected by the rain and storms. We are also in contact with partners such as Transports Quebec, Hydro-Quebec, and the municipalities, Bonnardel emphasized.
Yeah, just go slow.